everyone, how's it going? It's Ecxelsior and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be pretty special. It's something that's been pretty heavily requested by the community so far, and it's something that I'm personally really excited to talk to you guys about. It's going to be all about my time in the military, kind of the ups and downs, how I enlisted, when I'm supposed to get out, some of the fun times and bad times that I had along the way. Just kind of share some of that side with you guys to give you a little more of a glimpse into my history, where I come from, and all that good jazz. The gameplay in the background that you guys are going to be watching today, it's just a solo gameplay that I had on Warzone. I'll tell you right up front, it didn't end in a victory, but along the way there were some pretty good plays, albeit maybe a little bit of campy at times. The ending was something that I think most of us would probably experience at one point or another playing Warzone, which is pretty frustrating. But all you guys actually watch a video and see how it ends. I won't ruin it for you guys, but if you guys really want to, you can skip to the end and kind of see how that plays out. A couple of other things really quick before the video kicks off is, if you're looking for, Ranger SF, constant gunfight stories, this isn't it. Sorry to disappoint. Everyone's time in the military is different, so take everything that I say with a grain of salt. This is just my experience and kind of what I've done along the way. I'm not going to fluff things up to make it sound, cooler than it was. I'm just going to give you the raw, unedited version of kind of what I've been through. And with all that being said, we'll actually get into the story now. If at any point during the video you really appreciate it, you can leave a like, comment, subscribe, share the video. Tell me what your feedback is. If you'd like more of these story time videos, or if you want to do something different, I'm all ears. To actually kick everything off, I enlisted in 2012 while I was still a freshman in college. When I originally enlisted, I thought I was going to go the ROTC route, and for those of you that don't know what that is, it's basically a training course for college students or graduates to immediately become officers when they graduate college. So you go through 4 years of these basically college courses, which culminates with becoming an officer at the very end. It's another route. There's a couple of other ones, green to gold and that kind of thing. But originally when I came in, I was doing ROTC. I did a semester of it, and then in between my summer break, I was approached to join the National Guard. And at the time, I actually didn't even tell my mom or my dad, for that matter, that I was signing up. It was just something that I kind of did, stars in my eyes, just going for gold. I went to basic and AIT at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. And for those of you that haven't been to Missouri, in the summer it can be pretty humid at times. There's not really much else to say about Missouri. It was kind of fun. Most people come out of it thinking that they're, God's gift to the military. I know that I certainly did. But my basic in AIT was around 4 months total. That's including, time in the range, going through the sea burn, getting gassed, doing all the FTXs and all that really fun stuff that, kids dream about. And right after I got back, it was interesting because I knew that I was going to a unit that was, on the cusp of deploying, but I was told that I had, I was fresh out of basic in AIT, so I didn't have the experience and skills that they really needed to go on the deployment. So I was told I was going to be on the rear deck. It was one day before my first drill. I actually got a call saying that they'd switched me to the forward deck, and that my report time was about 3 weeks later. So here I am, this private that just graduated basic in AIT, now being told that I'm going on a deployment. I had no real life experience, and just to show up. So show up to my unit, we immediately ship out, head over to Texas, which is where we kind of did our MOB training, and we were there for, I don't know, maybe a month or so. And from there, we immediately went overseas. I was pretty lucky, all in all, for my station over there. I went over to Kandahar Airfield, and again, for those of you that aren't familiar with it, it's kind of one of the premier bases in Afghanistan. So they had a couple of the luxuries over there, one of which was, the boardwalk, which is essentially, we had a TGI Fridays, we had a Burger King, a Popeyes, pretty much anything else that you could really think of civilian side, we had something over there. We had all the knockoff Dre Beats and equipment that people at home would normally pay a premium for. We could get it for 10, 20, 30 bucks at most. It wasn't great quality, but it was there. Our mission over there was, originally we were supposed to just do convoy security, kind of tear down bases, support some of the bases around the area, provide security, and then we had a couple of the other miscellaneous details, moving connexes, retrograde, all that kind of stuff that nobody really gets super excited about. But it was fun because within the first couple of weeks, we actually started going out on missions and kind of get into the high speed side of things. And I remember my first mission going out, I was with somebody who'd been there probably 8 months already and had 2 tours before then. And we go out, and all of our missions were generally ran towards the later evening, nighttime hours, just because that's probably one of the safer times to do it. And we go out, and within about 30 seconds of being out there, we actually see, some helicopters just lighting up a mountainside, and it was pretty cool to see everything with night vision and really get a taste of, what everything was going to be like. And that's not to say the whole deployment was like that, but a decent chunk of it, had memorable experiences like that. Occasionally we would deal with the not so fun things like IEDs, small arms fire, and all that. But again, that's not what I want to focus on for this, because that can be a video in its own right. But we ran several 100,000 miles in missions while we were over there. Again, doing all sorts of fun and not so fun stuff. But whatever the flavor was for that day, when we were actually back on base, all we really had time to do was eat, maybe work out, and maybe get on a Skype call if the internet over there was actually going to support it, which was really intermittent at best. Sometimes you'd be able to get on a call for 5 minutes, and sometimes an hour, and sometimes you couldn't get a call to save your life. The one really good thing, though, was that we had access to all you can eat food for 3 meals a day. And on Fridays we had surf and turf. We had steaks. Sometimes they'd have lobster. We had different types of dining halls. We had American, Asian, British. It was a pretty good time overall. During the deployment, it was rough at times, but looking back on it, I really wouldn't change anything for the world. And I was over there for 9-10 months, with a couple of extra weeks and months of training leading up to and afterwards. After I got back, I was promoted pretty quickly. I was a PFC, private first class, over there, and I got back and I was promoted to specialist within like 2 months, and then sergeant within another 6 months. I actually made sergeant in 2.5 years, which is pretty quick from everything that I know in the military so far. Most people generally have to wait until 3 years, which kind of leads me to believe I had a waiver or something. I can't confirm that because I'm not up that level. But once I did that, I came back. I went to WLC or BLC or whatever they call it now, which is basically just promotion school. So you go off for 3 weeks. They teach you how to be an NCO, a non-commissioned officer, how to lead soldiers and be professional, which is pretty interesting if you've ever been to a military course. The ways that they teach are very much different than what you're going to see anywhere else civilian side. But overall, it was a pretty good experience. Met some really fantastic people there, from active, guard, reserve, all walks. Once I came back, the following summer, we went off to Jrtc, which is in the beautiful Fort Polk, Louisiana, and that is heavily sarcastic. We were there for probably 5 weeks, and that was probably one of the longest times of my life. I would rather deploy, hands down, than ever go back to that place. And I say that with all sincerity. But again, you have to take from it what you can and kind of keep trucking on. So wasn't all bad. Learned a lot. Probably wouldn't want to go back again. Once I got home from there, I actually was supposed to ETS, and for those of you that don't know, that means when you're supposed to exit the military. So I came back and I ETS the following summer. That was my 6-year mark. I was in the Guard, the National Guard, for the whole 6 months, or 6 years, sorry, prior to that. So I didn't really know what to do with myself when I got out. I was a civilian doing part-time military, but it's kind of a pretty big part of your life, whether you really realize it or not. You just kind of picture yourself in that role for forever, basically. So when I got out, I was a little lost. Again, I had my civilian career. I had my family at this point, who I started talking to my wife while I was deployed. We had kids right after I got back. So I didn't have anything to complain about. But I got out, and I was on my IRR time, which is inactive ready reserve. So you complete your initial enlistment, and then you have 2 years where you basically are still government property, but you don't drill, you don't do anything. You're just sitting there waiting for a call if they needed to have more soldiers. So about 2 or 3 months into that, I got a call from the reserve saying that basically I could drill out my final 2 years, get the health insurance, get all the benefits, still stay in the military, have a good time, and ultimately that's kind of what I decided to do, just because I thought that would be the best way to go about it. And then I got back, and that summer I went to it's called CSTX. It's I believe it's called a combat support training exercise, and basically it's for units that are gearing up to deploy, just to test your readiness to be certified, saying that hey, this unit actually knows what they're doing. And we went there, and we were there for probably 3 or 4 weeks, and that was in Fort Dix. Again, it wasn't quite as bad as Jrtc. I actually had a fun time there. We did a lot of like base operations, how to set up OPs, and setting up all the foxholes, setting up perimeter, directing contact, and all that. Luckily, we didn't have to do full mop suits or anything like that, which a couple of the units that went in before us did, so we were pretty lucky in that aspect. After we got back, I had about a year left in my contract, and I took over as the interim platoon sergeant for my company, just because there had been a lot of people coming, going, leaving, promotions, and that kind of thing, so they needed a little bit of stability, so I took over as interim platoon sergeant for a couple of months. And then when we actually got somebody that was at the rank needed for that, which was for us in E7, they took over officially and relieved me of that, which, again, great and not very great at the same time, because it's awesome being in that position of responsibility and just being able to grow professionally. But now I'm down to the last couple of months of my enlistment. Actually supposed to enlist, or ETS at the end of this year, rather. So that's going to be exciting. Actually get to focus on my family and kind of professional career. So, and then that actually just kind of leads us into a couple of questions that I've had posed to me from the community, which is, one, if you had the chance to go back, i.e. at the beginning of my enlistment, would you do it all over again? And the answer is absolutely. There's no doubt in my mind. It had its ups and downs and positives, but the positives definitely outweigh the negatives there. Another question was, how was the deployment? Would I do it again? And like I kind of mentioned before, there was a couple of things that I absolutely hated during it, because it seemed like it was going to go on forever. But looking back, it was probably one of the best experiences of my life, and I would definitely do it all over again. The difference being, I have a family now, and that's where my priorities are. And when I deployed, I didn't have that. I was a single bachelor, had nothing but free road in front of me. So now it would be a little bit different. And the final question is, do I wish that I had ever went active? And the answer is yes and no. The Guard and Reserves are really only a sliver of the overall military experience, but I've had a taste of life in active through basic and AIT deployments and trainings and classes. And during those times, yeah, I did want to go active, but when I got home, I realized how much better of a work-life balance there was in the Guard and Reserves. So that kind of leveled me out a little bit. But with all that being said, that's the story, the condensed version of the last 8 years of my military time, into however long this video is going to be. If you guys want to hear more about a specific part, i.e. deployment, my classes, promotion timeline, that kind of thing, just leave a comment below and I'll be happy to talk about it. If this wants to be a series, I can totally do that too. Again, just leave feedback and I'm happy to kind of listen to that. And with that very long-winded story, I really hope you guys enjoyed listening to it just as much as I enjoyed, recalling and recounting it to you guys. And if you did like the video, please be sure to like, comment, subscribe. It really means a lot and helps my channel grow. And with that being said, I hope to see you guys in the next video.